Hey, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. Regulated City demo, it's up, live on Steam, playable, available. Gauntlet of Power demo, it's done, ready, up, available on Steam and playable for everybody. Those were my main milestones. I'm now quitting game development and that's what this video is going to be about. I'm quitting game development. I also bought a new development PC and I'm going to give a little hint on how old I really am, because apparently I'm older than some of you think. I'm not sure any of these things are very good. Let me explain that after the intro. Okay, thanks for coming back after the intro. Let me explain a couple of things here before this is going crazy or whatever. Yes, I'm quitting game development, but just for this week. My brother is coming into town, so right now I'm recording this on a Monday, then on Tuesday I'll have a little bit of time to tinker with my games, but I already know that to get into certain things sometimes you just need a good amount of time. So knowing that I have just a short amount of time to work on the game, I'm not sure if I can actually find something to do on these projects that is so tiny I can complete it and round it off in one day. So I'm probably not going to do much game development this week. That doesn't mean I'm ending it completely, because I'm kind of in love with both my games. So yeah, I can't wait to get back into it. But for now, no game development this week. Alright, that's point one cleared out. A new development PC. Right, new development PC. Hang on. I know what you're thinking. That's the PC, that's the monitor. Why are you removing the monitor? As you said, you bought a new PC. I'm keeping this one. This is still my main development PC. But hang on. Also need that one, this one. And this is the new development setup. No, you're looking. No, this is a MacBook. I know, this is my old MacBook. Keeping it around to create iOS version of my games for as long as it still operates, but it's old. This is not. That's the computer. For those that have no idea what this is, it's not a magical thing. It's a Raspberry Pi. This is the Raspberry Pi 4, which is just a tiny computer board type thing. Gadget with all the stuff you need: HDMI, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, USB, pretty much everything to have a tiny computer that does things. Now it can't be compared to like the latest PCs and run the latest games, obviously. This one costs €100. That's including the casing, including an SD card and a couple of other things. So you can go cheaper. I think you can get them for €60. Hang on. I actually have an old version as well, two of these. This is an older version, older casing. They've gotten better over time. It's pretty cool. And it's a full-fledged computer, and if you just need simple things to be done, this thing can do it. If you want to hook it up to certain things like, well, whatever, just Google for Raspberry Pi, and you'll find a lot of projects. You can create a little retro arcade with it. Very tempting. Still something I want to try with this one that's pretty much ready to go, just haven't found the time to do it yet. But I've been tinkering with this one. My desk is weirdly empty right now. This is kind of nice, minimalistic, but I can't really do game development here. I also can't do game development on the Raspberry Pi. Sadly, wish it could, but well, I guess I could do the programming. I just can't test my games or run them on the Pi. Why not? I don't. That's another project. This little computer is really designed for tinkering and experimenting. So doing stuff on it, if it fails, just completely reinstall the device, try again. I kind of like it, and it brings me back to the reason why I originally started game development. It was just a lot of fun tinkering with it. This also brings me to that third thing I mentioned at the start. My age. By the way, this is actually the complete computer, the Raspberry Pi. This is the old one. I pulled it out of its casing. But I'll get to the point, Pascal. I'll get to the point. The most asked question I get from viewers Do you have a good reference manual or book or tutorial or something to teach me how to program or create games? And every time that question pops up, I have to explain that, sorry, I learned game development before there was internet. And the last book I read about game development probably explained double buffering and how to initialize the Sound Blaster 1. There wasn't even a 1 because they didn't know there would be a 2. I don't really know any good books that cover topics that you need right now. The last books I read were just, I don't think they're around, and if they are still around, there's really no purpose for them unless you're gonna be developing games for MS-DOS on a 486 PC or 386 maybe even. No, I think 486, and you see, I don't have that knowledge. But to tie everything into one topic and one video, let me explain why I bought this Raspberry Pi and what I'm doing with it. And I need to learn a bunch of new programming techniques or programming environments or tools and all of the above. And how am I going about that? And I can talk to you a little bit through how I do that. And maybe that will also help you create games, because I think this system works for pretty much everything, and it's how I learned programming mostly. I had to get my little Chromebook because I don't sit in this corner working on the Pi. It's pretty much a Linux computer, so it just sits there, no monitor attached normally, and it uses a little bit of power, and it's on Wi-Fi, and that's pretty much all it needs. I'm doing all the development from my Chromebook as I log into the Linux Pi thingy gadget over there. So I can literally sit anywhere in the house and tinker with the Raspberry Pi. So what am I tinkering with? Well, I had a Discord bot up and running last year, and which was a little mini game or meta game in the Discord channel, giving people or players, as I called them at that time, experience points and little events and trivia questions from the Orangepixel universe, everything around it. But that bot ran on autocode, which is a pretty cool service online. It allows you to create bots and other things. But they changed their planning, their price planning, and to be honest, for the use I have of it, I would have to pay $19 a month, and then I would run into the limits they have pretty quickly on a fairly tiny Discord channel or Discord server, so it just didn't make sense for me to keep using their service. So that also meant the bot was gone, and now I needed to create a new bot. For that, I needed to learn a bunch of things that I normally don't use. Alright, my desk is becoming a little tinker war zone, and I kind of like it, but I've been tinkering, writing stuff on the Chromebook and then learning a bunch of new things I had no experience with. So this is the bot, and pretty much writing it in JavaScript using Node.js. Now for some, I know a lot of web developers are watching this channel just in the hopes to become game developer. For you, this is probably all easy and very clear. I had to actually figure out how everything works and happens and how to use it. So right now I'm doing this step by step, learning how to, well, first of all I had to install Node on the Pi, I had to install Discord.js to run a bot, then I had to figure out how to communicate and how to program it, and just figure out how JavaScript works in certain things, because it's a very different language compared to just every other language. Everybody that uses it knows it's a little bit weird, but it's also kind of nice. And now another hint towards my age, I guess. I'm not new to JavaScript. I've used it before, a few years ago, way back, a few years ago. Before I think I was using HTML3 back in the day, and JavaScript was just there. There was no Node.js. The dynamic object model was only just being invented. Now it's the DOM, and now it's part of HTML5 and Web 2 and Web 3 and whatever you want to call it. Back in those days, I used JavaScript for just tiny things. I actually did create certain games here and there because we suddenly got the power to move stuff around on a web page, which is now very common. But in those days it was not common. Everything just was in order and static and in tables, and you couldn't move stuff around, and that's when I was using JavaScript. But now it has so many it evolved so much and there's so many other things, and it's also kind of frustrating because there are like 1,000 different solutions to a single problem, which makes finding the right solution a problem on its own, I guess. But this is how I went about learning all these things, and this is I think you should learn game development as well. Sure, you can dive into books if that's your thing. Find a good book in a library or online in whatever, order one, find one. There are so many. Find a beginner's book, learn the beginnings. But if you have a little of programming experience already, like I've used many languages over the years, so they are all pretty much the same except for certain specific things. Those you have to relearn, but you'll learn them as you encounter them. So the first thing I just had to do was, like I just said, learn how to install these things and get it running. I found a very basic example how to use Discord.js. Just Google that, how to use Discord.js. You'll find a very simple example, find the most simplest you can find, copy and paste it, but don't stop there. Actually read what is happening, see what's happening, run it, see if it actually runs. If it does, start tweaking things here and there. And that's really how I've been going about. I think my first code was just saying, hi, I'm online. So now we had a bot in the Discord saying, hi, I'm online. And from there I started tweaking and changing things, and you have to just take baby steps. I'm not sure if you want to start game development, and the problem here is that a lot of people want to start game development because they have an idea for a game. They want to make that, but you have to take baby steps to get to that big idea of yours. You just can't simply jump into it and see other game developers create games and think, I want to do that because I have this great idea, and then figure that you can do it in like a year or so. Because a lot of game developers need years to learn those basics, then improve on them, perfect them, and learn more stuff and improve that and perfect. Eventually you end up at bigger projects and bigger games, and by that time I'll promise you you'll have 1,000 other good game ideas already, and you can't make any of those because you're working on something that you had no idea about, but you're working on that one now, and all those ideas are written down somewhere and you're never going to look at them again. And all right, anyway, where was I? Yes, it's baby steps. And that's pretty much how I've been rebuilding my bot for the Discord, and it's now up. Of course, it's not all gonna go very smoothly. I had the bot up and running and then came to the conclusion that most of the code I wrote, how to handle commands and interaction and stuff, was done wrong. So I had to rewrite a lot of stuff, and I'm sure it might need another rewrite here and there because I might have made other errors and mistakes. But that's how you learn game development. It's just a process, and you have to actually enjoy that process. If you don't enjoy that, forget about creating games. And if you can't enjoy the process, I don't think game development is for you. That just goes for every other type of job. If you can't enjoy the process from start to finish, the finish line isn't going to be as interesting to do because the process is just going to be a lot longer than the final thing. If that makes sense, I think it makes sense. I'll have to re-listen this in the edit. I think it made sense. Right. Alright, that's it for this week's video, I guess. In a way, it's very interesting that there are tools like Unity and Unreal and a bunch of other things now, Godot or Godot or whatever you want to call it. It's cool that these tools are there, but I think a lot of tinkering, the stuff that actually makes you fall in love with game development, a lot of that seems to be missing from it. These engines do so much, or these tools do so much and take care of so much stuff that you have no clue about, or don't learn, or don't understand what it does. You're just using it and you don't know what exactly happens under the hood. And I think that's kind of a shame. That's why I like Raspberry Pi. The whole idea of that is having these mini computers that they are cheap, so they can be bought and purchased by schools, and they can be used for teaching and learning knowledge and tinkering, and hopefully make younger people more interested in the technology behind stuff and the inner workings of things, because we eventually need people to make these big tools that make it easy for everybody else. So we need certain people that are still interested in what's happening under the hood. So thanks for watching the video. I'm gonna actually clean up my desk so that I can actually do maybe a little bit more of work on my game or tinker on the bot some more. So bye.